Hello there everyone, it is Toby from TIJ Music and welcome to a new video. Today is time for a new series on this channel. Now, I've thought for a long time that I want to talk a little bit more and delve more into individual songs, and the problem is with top 10s and album reviews there isn't really the time to do that with each and every song. So I thought we'd have a separate series called Song Spotlight to look at one song every episode. They won't be the longest of episodes, there won't be 20-minute rambles, you'll be glad to hear, fingers crossed. But I wanted to talk about certain songs that maybe I love and maybe for the positive reasons, or for ones that I dislike and for the negative reasons, perhaps songs that are maybe underrated or overrated. But this series gives me a chance to look at individual titles, really delve into them in detail and look at either a positive light or a negative light. So today we are starting with the first episode of the series, and today we are looking at Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Now I chose this song because I thought, who haven't I covered yet? Which artists haven't I covered? And out of the list I've got of songs that I want to cover on this series at the moment, I'm sure that list will grow as you guys make recommendations and as I listen to more music and perhaps get into more tracks or become more irritated with more tracks, depends which way you look at it. This is one of the artists, Led Zeppelin of course, that I haven't covered yet on the channel, so I thought I'd use this opportunity to cover Led Zeppelin through this video. Now, Stairway to Heaven is an absolutely fantastic song, so you'll be glad to hear this is for a positive reason that we're covering Stairway to Heaven today. And it was released in 1971 on the Led Zeppelin IV album, 1, 2, 3, 4. Their first 4 albums were 1, 2, 3 and 4. And the song was over 8 minutes long, which meant it wasn't exactly meant for radio play. But it wasn't a single from the Led Zeppelin IV album. The singles from that album were Black Dog and Rock and Roll, the first 2 tracks on the album. Again, apologies for me looking away from the camera for a few seconds at certain points. I have got my notes on my computer there that I use. But Jimmy Page told Rolling Stone magazine in 1975 that apparently they didn't release Stairway to Heaven as a single because they wanted people to buy the whole album. But personally, I think that's more down to the fact that they wouldn't really realise this would become such an anthem, in my opinion. But in terms of the stats, there are a hell of a lot of accolades. I'll go through a few of them, but on the top right, is that going to be the top right? I don't get this camera filming thing. But on the top right, there'll be certain accolades that this song has got from many reviewers, but just a few. It reached number 3 on a 2000 VH1 list of the 100 greatest rock songs. Reached number 31 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time, although many of the songs below 30 were the Beatles, and apologies if you are a Beatles fan, but I think that is a little bit far-fetched, that probably about a third of the ones below 30, from 30 to 1, are Beatles songs, so not quite sure about that list, but all the accolades will be in the top right to see how the reviewers and the critics feel this song is. And in November 2007, because it wasn't a single beforehand, through promotional download sales of the Mothership release that Led Zeppelin brought out, they actually brought out the whole catalogue digitally, which made all of their singles and songs eligible for entry into the UK singles chart. And Stairway to Heaven did reach number 37 on the UK singles chart. So I'm not sure how the other songs fared, the likes of Ramble On, Whole Lot of Love, Immigrant Song, although these could have been singles, I'm not entirely sure, and Kashmir, I'm not sure how they fared on the singles chart after they were re-released or released for the first time, because I don't know if these were singles, but they might well have been or might not have been. But let's talk a little bit about the song. So the song's got 3 sections in it. There's the first section that is quite a smooth, acoustic sounding section, and each section progressively increases in tempo and volume. So we've got a slow acoustic tempo, which becomes more heavy throughout with more electric instruments introduced. So you've got the second, which is more, it's a little bit quicker than the first, but it builds up a little bit, but not too much. And then the last section, of course, is just cracking hard rock, which is probably my favourite part of the song. It builds up for about 4 or 5 minutes, which is exactly something I'm used to as a fan of bands like Pink Floyd. For goodness sake, some of Floyd's songs are over 20 minutes, so I do get used to that sort of thing. But it builds up quite nicely and culminates in a brilliant guitar solo from Jimmy Page, possibly one of the best guitar solos ever. For me, Comfortably Numb is my favourite guitar solo by Pink Floyd, and that's definitely a song that will be covered in this Song Spotlight series if you folks enjoy watching this series. But it's definitely in the top 5, Stairway to Heaven's guitar solo. It's really aggressive, and particularly the end, towards the end of the song, when you've got the hard rock and Robert Plant's vocals come back in. It's so bizarre because you've got such a contrast from the start of the song, where it's really smooth and the tempo, again, it's nice and acoustic and can even be called folk rock, to 5 or 6 minutes later, if you skip through the song, you'd think we've got 2 different songs here, because it's such good hard rock at the end, really aggressive hard rock, and it's absolutely fantastic. Interestingly, the first public performance of the song took place in Belfast in 1971, and the bassist Paul Jones basically said the crowd didn't want it because they wanted to hear something that they knew, the likes of Whole Lot of Love or Ramble On or something from the earlier albums. But what they obviously wouldn't realise is that if that was their only time seeing Zeppelin, that they wouldn't have heard or they wouldn't have appreciated a song that would become such an anthem in the future. And by 1975, 4 years later, the song became a staple of every single Led Zeppelin concert at the end of the concert. Now, interestingly enough, the two main members of the band, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, Jimmy Page being the guitarist and Robert Plant being the singer, if you didn't know, or the vocalist, because there might be some people watching this that aren't particularly aware of the song again. I know a lot of people have heard it, but I did do a quiz a few months back and included this on the music and nobody had no idea what that is. That being said, though, that was a sample size of 7, so that doesn't represent everyone, but just for people that haven't particularly heard of Led Zeppelin. But Jimmy Page loves the song, thinks it's fantastic. Robert Plant's much more of a fan of Kashmir and has got sick of this and did get sick of it by 1977. But Jimmy Page was so impressed with it that he had Robert Plant write the lyrics from then on for every song. And the lyrics are quite an interesting point. I can't really figure out what they mean too much, apart from the start of the song, where Robert Plant has said and stated quite clearly that the first part of the song is about a woman who's accumulated money over time and perhaps realises that it's not going to be worth anything. But the rest of the song, again, is so open to interpretation that even Robert Plant, who wrote it, said that every day my interpretation of the song can change. So I'm not going to bother trying to offer an interpretation. I'm just going to take the music for what it is, and it's a lovely piece of music. But my opinion about the song, it is really one of those songs that just doesn't grow old as you listen to it more and more, and that's a quality that only the best songs have. A lot of songs that are good songs, the difference between good and great songs is that good songs you can listen to a certain number of times, and after a while they do start to become annoying. But I could listen to Stairway to Heaven, maybe not on repeat 50 times, but my point is I could listen to it time and time again and not get bored of it and really take a new aspect from that song every single time I listen to it. But interestingly, Robert Plant became absolutely sick of the song by 1977, and I think they only performed it once again when they reunited for Live Aid in 1985. After that, I'm not sure, but Live Aid for Zeppelin was an absolute disaster, but we're not going to go into that today. But yeah, the guitar solo is extraordinary, changed the tempo, build of the song, agreed with myself, that doesn't make much sense, but yeah, that's what I've put in my notes. Even though I'm sure people would be whinging about the length, as I said, it's not great for radio play, but the quality of a lot of good songs, in my opinion, is length. You can either be really short but sweet, and that's a tough quality to have as well, but to be able to sustain a song for 8 minutes like Zeppelin have here is a really good quality. As I put in my notes, the vocals from Robert Plant are just impeccable. He is a really underrated vocalist, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of things. Some of the stuff he does and the range he's got is absolutely fantastic. And an interesting fact, once again, I've researched quite a few facts for the song before doing this, that in his solo work or work with other groups, Jimmy Page wouldn't let anybody else sing the song apart from Robert Plant. Very occasionally he'd let other people sing it, but not on a considerably regular basis. He'd played the instrumental version of Stairway to Heaven, but he'd never really do it without Robert Plant on vocals. And I've just put, again, I think this is something I mentioned earlier, I don't think the band realised in 1971 just how much of an anthem this song would be. Because for me, even though I haven't, admittedly I hold my hands up to this, I've maybe listened to maybe 5 or 6 Zeppelin tracks. I'm not much of a Zeppelin fan, but that's something I want to get into a little bit more. This song is just synonymous with Led Zeppelin for me. When I think of Led Zeppelin, I think this song. And some people might think of Immigrant Song, Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Kashmir, Whole Lot of Love, Ramble On, or I can continue. I can ramble on, see what I did there. But for me, Stairway to Heaven is synonymous with Led Zeppelin, and when I think of great bands the likes of Queen, Pink Floyd, AC/DC, in my humble opinion, there are certain songs that I associate with those bands, and I would put them in the same bracket as Stairway to Heaven, so it all works the same for me. And another good point is that it was released in 1971. Now, I don't really think there's been much significant before that. I might be wrong, because I am more in line with bands from the late 70s, the likes of Floyd, AC/DC, Queen, as I just mentioned. But this was a landmark song, I think. I've never heard certainly anything before that. I'm quite happy for you to disagree with me in the comments if you think there's something before 1971 which was more mind-blowing than this, with the guitar solo and the sounds from the song and the way the song builds up. I can certainly name songs after this that had those same qualities, but before that I could probably struggle to do so. But my rating, as I probably portrayed throughout the video, is a 10 out of 10. It's almost like Bo Rap or Bohemian Rhapsody how it links progressive rock, hard rock, and elements of folk rock together. It's absolutely fantastic. And just to prove my point, it's got a well-filled Wikipedia page just for that song, so it must be good. But that is all I'm going to say about Stairway to Heaven today. An absolutely fantastic song. And I think that ran quite well. I think we've kept that to about 10 minutes, so I'm quite happy with that. Again, if you've got any opinions about this song in the comments, I'd love to hear them. And maybe about other Zeppelin songs that you think I ought to listen to, because I'm happy to get some suggestions from you folks. And also some suggestions for other songs that you'd like me to spotlight in the future. But for now, I've been TIJ Music. Make sure to subscribe for weekly album reviews, top 10s, and if this video goes down well, weekly song spotlights possibly. But until the next time, thank you very much for watching and enjoy your music listening day. Goodbye for now.